So hello everyone, my name is Shira Cohen. I'm the host of this podcast, which used to be called Yoga Therapy and now it's called Reclaiming Our Wellbeing. So I'm the author of a book with the same title. I'm a yoga therapist, yoga teacher, Ayurvedic wellness educator, emotional coach, and mindfulness teacher. I'm here to share stories, my own, but also those of others, because listening to another story can change ours. So enjoy! So hello everyone, it's me again for these short weekly check-ins, let's call it that. And today I just wanted to say happy spring. I forgot to say it last week. I think that's one of the reasons I'm feeling a lot happier at the moment and lighter. I've noticed that with the days, as the days are getting longer, like here it's already light at 5 o'clock, so I'm waking up at 4, and if I actually get up at 4, I feel fine. And yes, I'm exhausted at 9 o'clock. I just want to sleep, and I do sleep. But then I wake up at 4 feeling fine again. So I finally switched my schedule, and it feels wonderful. It feels wonderful to wake up really early before everyone else is awake. And then before I start my work, I've had 4 hours for myself. So it's great. So yeah, I wanted to say that the creative power of nature is working its magic again, that spring feeling of life and freshness and a new start when we've gone into the death period of winter and replenished ourselves and slept a lot and maybe cried a lot or just internalized and become more introvert and gathered our strength. Basically, it's like the roots. So I'm reading a wonderful book again by Barbara Kingsolver, her nonfiction, which is called Animal Vegetable Miracle. It's about her life with her daughters and her husband, moving back to living simply. So she's an amazing writer. I really recommend her to anyone who wants to read good fiction, because she's a biologist as well. So she actually teaches you things in a story. It's really amazing. And the way she writes, it flows really easily from one story. I don't know if you've read The Ants, but that one moment you're in the world of animals or a family, and then the next you're into a totally different, next chapter is a different setting, different situation. But you think you're still reading the same story, and you're not. So she merges 2 and sometimes 3 different stories into one. So you slowly move back and forward through the chapters, and then all of a sudden it just all comes together. And as she writes this kind of style, she also has a lot of educational stuff about animals, plants, miracles, basically. Yeah, and spring is all about that miracle coming out of that deep root. And she talks about in this book all these amazing dishes. So I got very inspired because she goes through the seasons, how the first year, obviously, they just, they moved to the mountains where it's more green because they were living in Tuscany, I think, what's it? Somewhere in the desert, anyway, warm in America. I can't remember which one of the 50-something states. So yeah, she talks about how each season or each month, she goes through the months and which vegetables and fruits grow and what recipes they make. So it's very delicious. And I've never made anything with rhubarb, ever. I thought it was like celery. It looks like celery. It must taste like celery. I mean, I've eaten when someone else has made something with rhubarb, but then I thought they must have put a lot of sugar. But it's actually really sweet and really fresh and juicy, just like spring. It's really amazing. And so it's all about eating with the season. This book tells you why there's enough, and that you get more creative when you have just a few different ingredients, and that the ingredients need to change. So as I'm reading this book, I'm also coming up with other theories, my own theories, because she's talking about how our the biodiversity of our food chain has been so minimalized due to Monsanto and all these big agricultural players and corporates who are really just dumbing down our food sources instead of having, I don't know, what was it? I think we used to have 1,000 different sorts of potatoes. Now we just have 5 on the market, if that, usually about 2. So I was thinking, I came to this theory, oh, maybe that's why humans and animals, even when you look at animals, like now I'm seeing Chinese ducks having babies with European ducks, which is not normal. Normally species don't intercross. But the same with humanity. Maybe that's why humans want to become more diverse in their genetics and their sense of gender, because we're trying to compensate unconsciously on a what do you call that, a collective kind of instinctual planetary sense. We're trying to become more diverse. I think that's kind of compensation for that, because yeah, there is a total imbalance, and I think we all feel it intuitively. So yeah, I'm just excited because I made a delicious rhubarb cake, and I made rhubarb syrup, and now I'm going to make something else with rhubarb today. And I want to get into this, like, I mean, I've been doing it pretty much the last 3 years with my keto diet, and I'm trying to lose the weight due to perimenopause. And now I actually think I'm in menopause because it's more than 2 months I haven't had my periods. And I'm finally being able to sleep a little better. So I can actually sleep from 10 till 4. And not wake up since 3-4 nights. It's really good. I can tell you, it's so nice not to wake up every few hours because of a heat hot flush. Yeah, but again, that hot flush, if you think about what's happening in the female body when she's in menopause or perimenopause, it's amazing. Our organs are changing. So the ovaries stop producing the estrogen, the progesterone, and other hormones like prolactin and other things which actually help us to regulate and slow down and feel more calm. So all these hormones are decreasing in production in the ovaries, and then your adrenals have to start taking over. And the adrenals are also the ones that produce adrenaline and cortisol. And because we live in very stressful societies, usually women burn out in this time. I've said this before in my Burnout podcast, but I'm going to say it again because I think repetition is important. And as I go, I learn more, so I can add more to the discussion and more of my own theories. But I believe that that's the reason that we burn out quicker. And there is some science about it, and it's just logical. I mean, we can use our common sense. We don't always need evidence-based when it just means 1 + 1 = 2. So it's very easy to understand. So our breasts also have to start taking over that production of different hormones, which they were doing very minimally, but now all of a sudden it's all on them. And when the adrenals are already overstressed because of our society, because of the huge changes, so the adrenals are also our buoyancy kind of glands, the ones that help us to adapt constantly. And that's why adrenal adaptogens are very important. So at the moment, I'm helping my daughter through her fatigue. She has fatigue since about 3 years. And in the beginning, I thought it was just because of all the stress we had from moving from Australia to Australia and back, me being burnt out in that period, and then moving so many times in the last 4 years. And now we finally have settled down. Then there was COVID. So I thought it was the COVID. But now it's not COVID, and it's not long COVID. I mean, maybe it is. But she's so exhausted. And then I started researching more on hormones. And then I found out about Hashimoto's, which is an imbalance of the thyroid, again, a gland. So these glands, if you think about glands, they have no muscles. They have very little blood flow going through them. And they're in areas or regions of the body where we have very little what do you call that, muscular and vascular exchange. So there's not this in-out kind of action which cleanses the tissues. Normally tissues get cleansed through the movement, through the pumping of muscles and that blood flow that moves because of that pumping. So glands don't have that kind of action, and that's why movement around the thyroid gland, then you have your thymus gland, which is just under the breastbone, all these glands, and then you have your pancreas and the insulin, then you have your adrenals on the the middle upper back, and all these areas. If you don't move a lot, and even if you play one sport, you're not actually moving all those glands. They're not getting the exercise and the massaging action that you do with full breath, full movement. That's why yoga is very effective, but that's why also you need to consciously work on moving those. So Hashimoto's mimics both depression and anxiety, a lot of psychological imbalances, even bipolar, borderline and schizophrenia have been associated to thyroid imbalances. So again, thyroid, adrenals, we're coming back to these glands. How important are they? If doctors, if physiotherapists, and if psychologists understood very well how hormones work, because I work in psychology clinic, but no one has an idea that half of these symptoms that I'm seeing people walk in with are often due to an imbalance, because you see more and more symptoms. Like I ask questions of the body and the mind and physiology and breathing and how they sleep and go to the toilet, and this gives you clues about the whole physiological process, and that physiology hints to which hormones are lacking or too much, and which glands are most affected. So now I'm going totally off topic. I was totally going into spring. I'm going to get back to spring and the spring practice. But I just want to mention this. So the tiredness can just be a hormonal imbalance. So think about eating in-season foods, whatever is growing now locally, not from Japan, not from even France or Italy or Spain. If you live in the north of Europe, eat what's in the north of Europe. If you live in the north of America, or if you live in Australia, eat what's local to there in that season. And that'll be the things that are least expensive and most, easy to access in your local shops. You'll see through pricing that is what's being grown at the moment. So it's very easy and it's very economic. Okay, so because it's spring and that time of life, I just wanted to read, and life is the woman element. She brings life into the world. She births everything that is. She's the creative passion of uncontrollable, boundless power. And women, nature, emotions, and are all chaos evokers. So I'm reading a part of my book now in the chapter of embodying the feminine. So this is introduction into the chakra chapters. And we seek to transform the meek into majestic. That's what spring is. Again, taking all that has fallen, the leaves of winter become compost and starts to rot and decay. And then it becomes this dark earth, and that feeds the roots, and the roots get nourished, and that nourishment becomes the juice of the tree, of the plant. Like I've been taking beautiful flowers, photos of flowers, all these beautiful flowers, and you walk on the street anyway, just even in the city, and it's full of birds singing. It's wonderful. This is the creative process speaking to you. And after death, there is always life, and there is no apocalypse coming. So I was reading about the capitalists who've gone to their extreme, and that capitalism always has this apocalyptic idea, and there's always going to be a crash and then there's a start. Okay, so if we see it more in this wave kind of culture and view, not this like there's the end of the world which has always been used to scare people and to create a sense of urgency, to sell certain things and then increase market prices for whatever people are trying to sell at the moment. So don't be swept up in that. Just trust the whole cycle and process of life and death and rebirth. So we need that whole cycle. The unpredictable power intrinsic to change is always brought about by the which free-willed independence, intelligence challenges our souls, inviting a fuller self, benefiting our world. Struggle, hardship, and doubts are part of the process because change moves out of comfort and into an undefined space of growth and uncertainty. The feminine always awakens the undefeatable qualities within us when beyond hope. So maybe now we're feeling like we're beyond hope with the political, environmental situation. But it depends how you look at things, and it depends where you put your energy, attention, awareness, time, and effort. Offering insights into our relations, motivations, and inspirations. Identifying with another's struggles, defeats, and victories, the aha moment embodies our shared human experience. Encouraging self-acceptance, becoming a source of love. Recognition makes the personal universal. It moves us beyond our internalized shame, regret, and grief, releasing assumed stories of stigma. We all desire connection to and a relationship with the universal. Through work and worship, we give the immeasurable form, heroine, hero, goddess, God. Mind can relate and grasp and know the immense unfathomable. So the mind always needs to know something. And if the mind cannot know something, it cannot have a relationship with it. There's no connection. So the way for the mind to grasp the ungraspable, the divine, is we use an image. We use a form like a goddess or a god, a hero, a heroine. Yeah, because this helps the mind to go, oh, that's what that is, and then can identify with it, can find commonality, build a relationship to it, understand itself through the known. So the mind needs the known. That's why we have, like in the Hindu tradition, 32,000 different gods, because everyone's different, and maybe you don't relate to one god and you have a whole choice, a buffet, more than a buffet, because the Indians always go full power. Yeah, see the goddess, see life, see the beauty of a god or whatever you want to call it in this power of spring, the beginning of life. Breathe it in, go for a walk. Get your fingers nice and dirty. Plant. I've been planting the last 3 weeks on my balcony. I've got a nice big balcony, and it's now so green. I've planted trees, and each tree has flowers at the bottom, and I'm just making it so it's like this little haven where I can retreat to. And I actually don't want to read. I don't want to look at anything. I just want to listen to music and watch the plants growing and see the bees and butterflies coming and enjoy. And that's what spring is about replenishment, taking in the sensual pleasures of life. So take a moment today, this week, this month, to just enjoy, feed yourself new, fresh foods, try something different, break out of the box, break out of your normal every day, every week, every year, every decade kind of track, and find another way. So sending you all much love. Enjoy your beautiful spring weeks, and fill up those senses with nourishment of luscious, passionate joys of life, of smelling, tasting, seeing, hearing. Let your senses and feeling, let your senses really absorb the goodness that is. Namaste, have a wonderful week, and speak to you next week.